Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for this edition of the Women's Spotlight. My name is Tara Mishral, and I'm here today with another amazing woman to help you break through your limiting beliefs and step into expansion. It is my purpose and goal to help you realize that everything you want is attainable and out there for you if you just reach for it. But we also have to identify why we want what we want. And that is something that's very key to our guest today, Kim Hagle. She's here with us to talk about her journey through the fitness world and how that's evolved to bring her to the wonderful, joyful body movement coach she is today. So without further ado, let us welcome Kim Hagle to this stage. Hi, Kim.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me here, Tara.
It is a pleasure and an honor. I've been hearing so much wonderful things about you out there in the community, and I'm so happy you carved out some time for us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's truly my pleasure to be here.
So Radiant Vitality, what a fantastic name. We'll have to figure out how you even came up with that once we dig in. But today, I really want to focus on all the things that you've been working on. You've started your business and been in your own line of work after leaving nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been doing this type of training, fitness, for some time, but you really made a big shift about a year ago, moving from that typical training, push harder, go get the body you desire, to a more joyful, graceful place that helps you really love the body you have and really bring joyful movement into fitness and get away from that discouraging body talk that many of us women have. So without me butchering it, let me turn it over to you and you can talk just a little bit about Radiant Vitality and some of the things that you do for women out there in the community.
Oh, well, I don't think you're butchering it at all, by the way. But yeah, it's been quite the journey. Yeah, like you say, I have been a personal trainer and I'm a nutritionist as well, a registered holistic nutritionist for about 9 years. And my startings in that career, I guess, were born out of, well, the same way that a lot of personal trainers enter the industry is, I mean, I had a negative body image for most of my life. I was always that kid that was picked last for sports when I was growing up. I just didn't have a really great view of my body. I started dieting at probably the age of 12. And I have 4 children now, but after my third was born, I really struggled with my identity and body image in a whole new way. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was just like feeling really stuck. And I didn't want to diet anymore. I felt like that wasn't working for me. So I ended up finding a personal trainer, and she was wonderful. We're still great friends, and she helped me feel strong and powerful in my body for the first time in my life. But because I still had this negative body image and this desire to lose weight, and I was putting all of my worth in how I looked, fitness very quickly became an obsession. I kind of joke that it was like my full-time job. So seeing as I was spending so much time thinking about exercise and nutrition, I decided to actually make it my full-time job. So that's how I entered into the fitness world in the first place. And I operated a fitness studio for, I guess, probably about 7 years. And I mean, I operated the traditional way. It was all about weight loss, trying to get, like you say, that body that you desire, push hard. I was all about eating clean. And I mean, I would exercise up to 2 hours a day. And I really was under the belief that if everybody worked as hard as I did, everybody could have that quote ideal body too. And then it stopped working.
You hit a plateau?
Hit a plateau. I had a fourth child. And actually, prior to having him, even it was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain this quote ideal body. I was very restrictive with calories. I was secretly binging at night. I felt like I was living this total lie that, people talked about what a role model and inspiration I was. And I'm like, you have no idea that what I'm like, how many cookies I ate last night, right? Like,
I got into
but
that dark chocolate last night.
well,
Yep.
not even just like, yeah, anyways, it was quite the facade. And eventually I wasn't able to control my body to the same extent. And, um, so I ended up having my fourth baby, and he was born with Down syndrome, and he's fine and everything's good. But that was a real turning point in my life. I very quickly realized once I had him that I had far bigger fish to fry in life than trying to be skinny and maintain a quote ideal body. So I ended up actually leaving the fitness industry for about 2 years because I gained weight
Mhm,
and I just didn't care. I didn't
mhm.
care to lose weight anymore. I didn't care to try to put on that front. I just wanted to live my life and be in the moment and be a good mom and like take
Mm.
care of myself without all of that like obsession.
Right. So what I'm hearing is you were nursing, you were caring for people, you went to school for nursing, you were a nurse for 8 years, you had two children. By the time your third child hit, you were like, how do I balance motherhood with a
Mhm,
career as
mhm,
well as take care of myself? And fitness seemed to be the answer for you then. And so you did that for 7 or 8 years and you
mhm,
loved it, but you also became, it sounds a bit like your own enemy where you
yeah,
couldn't show up authentically. You were
mm-mm,
at home doing one thing in the evenings and then presenting as something else in the day.
mhm.
And that sounds like a war inside of yourself.
It
And
really
I
does.
know I've been there. I also, like yourself, struggled from the time I was 9 or even younger with my weight issues. Being a size 14 when you're in grade 6 has certain songs sung about you around the playground.
Mhm,
And I know that those feelings of inadequacy in my body never fully left, and I still battle them today. So
mhm,
thank you for being so honest about that journey.
mhm.
And then it sounds like you just got burnt out with that facade a bit, right? And
Yeah,
you decided,
absolutely.
I've got 4 children, I've got to be there for them. I'm going to take a break from fighting my body every day.
Yeah.
Is that a fair depiction of the journey?
Absolutely, absolutely. I had to repair my own relationship with my body and with myself, and I sort of fell into intuitive eating and just moving in a way that brought me joy.
Mm,
And it wasn't until so then I ended up in a job that I really wasn't happy in, and I wanted to get back to self-employment, and it was in talking to our mutual friend, Becky. We
mm,
were brainstorming business ideas, and she's like, "Why would you not go back to personal training? You're so good at it." I'm like, "I can't, Becky, like I can't do it anymore. Like I do not want to be bothered with all the obsession and weight loss and all of the things that I." And she's like, "You don't have to do that. People
mhm.
don't need you to be that. Like there are so many women out there that need to find this body acceptance that you found for yourself. Like, why would you not go that way and inspire
Mhm.
them to have like, you don't have to be any different than who you already are." It hadn't even entered my mind that I could be
That's
who I was in the fitness industry.
absolutely, because that's such a stretch because we're told to conform and contort into what perceived beauty is or what's being
Mhm,
presented in social media. But when we look around us, the higher percentage are women who look like us, not women who are a
mhm.
size 2. So kudos to you for listening to Becky. Becky Netherly, by the way, for all of you listening, is a phenomenal copywriter, and you can look her up. But so you took a chance and you said,
Mhm,
yeah, well, I am going to put joy back into movement.
mhm.
Tell us how that started to unfold once you did that.
Yeah. So I really started digging into the non-diet world. I hadn't even heard the term diet culture until
Mhm,
that time. I didn't know that that's what I was living under, or that's what the fitness industry was ruled by. And as you say, like I remember in my education as a personal trainer, hearing things like your body is your business card. Like this is the type of toxicity that's spread in the fitness industry and why I felt like such a fraud and like I couldn't return to it. But yeah, I just started Googling like intuitive eating. And I stumbled across a woman who's now my mentor, Stephanie Dozier, and she runs a professional mentorship for non-diet professionals, nutritionists, personal trainers, therapists, things like that. So I studied under her for about 6 months and really dug into intuitive eating, body image coaching. She taught us the self coaching model, which is a tool from cognitive behavioral therapy, which is um, how I do all of my coaching, right? So helping
Mhm.
people with their whole mindset and their thoughts that are creating the stuckness that they're feeling, right? And the
Mhm.
all of the negative body image thoughts that they have. So, what I learned is that we don't have to change our body to find self-acceptance. We don't. Confidence is not a size. Confidence is an inside job, and through changing our thoughts, we can find that confidence and we can chase health however our body shows up.
Absolutely. And I, like yourself, am all about mindset shifts. And I do believe in incorporating a lot of CBT training in my work as well. And
Mhm.
it's so important to help our clients understand that they are whole and complete exactly as they are, where they are in this particular moment. Now, that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that they don't have desires or wants to do things in life that are big and audacious and wonderful.
Sure.
It just means that you're still whole and complete while you're working towards those goals, whatever those goals are.
Yeah.
And so I honor you for using that type of tools in your coaching toolkit and bringing that mindset and body together, because they do have to be in harmony. And
Mhm.
one of the things I've heard while looking through some of your social media content is this battle with the body, right? So
Mhm.
when you're like, push harder, or if I eat those cookies I have to work out an extra hour, should I do cardio or weightlifting? Or so talk through a little more about that mindset shift, right? When you're actually, what happens when you're actually at war with your body, or you're making every decision have a consequence that's viewed negative in your mindset?
Mhm.
What are some of the outcomes that happen?
Well, I mean, I think the big outcome is that it's creating a feeling of shame within yourself, like very simply, right? When we feel as though we have to exercise to burn calories and that it's wrong to gain weight, and the only reason why one would exercise is to torture themselves to burn off the bad choices that they've made. And by the way, I don't believe in good or bad foods or bad choices, but thinking that there's one right way to exercise and that things are right or wrong, good or bad, black and white, it creates a feeling of shame in our body or
Mhm.
in ourselves, and we can't reach a place of self-acceptance. And I mean, we all want to feel better, like that. I would say that's everybody's number one reason for wanting to exercise, is they want to feel better in their body. They want to reach a place of self-acceptance and confidence. Well, you cannot create those positive feelings from negative thoughts about yourself and negative feelings like shame.
And as we've learned on our journey, shame is the lowest vibrational frequency. So
Yeah.
when we're operating in that low frequency, there's no way to attract in the things that we truly deserve and
Mhm.
desire. So
Yeah.
shifting from shame to self love and unconditional love
Mhm.
really brings up that frequency and starts to attract the things we desire and need, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would also, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and that it also is how we feel motivated, right? Everybody feels unmotivated when it comes to fitness. Well, it's very hard to feel motivated when you're dealing with the feeling of shame and negative thoughts about your body, right? But
Mhm.
when we can cultivate positive thoughts about movement unrelated to our body, then that motivation struggle isn't there. And then we can
Absolutely.
find that consistency that we really all want.
And somebody might be listening out there that might say, well, by just accepting how you are and loving how you are, it means that we are gunning for an obese society where we don't
Mm,
care about our body. And, you know, uh, I almost feel that because that diet industry and that pushing a certain body image at us for so long has been
mhm,
there, that
mhm.
people feel they need one or the other. They need to be super fit with a six pack, or they need to be obese. Can you tell us, what would you tell that person out there?
Yeah. So first of all, I don't love the O words. I tend to stay away from overweight and obese as words because I think they're triggering and they imply that there is a quote normal body and anything above that is unhealthy and unworthy of acceptance. And
Mhm,
the truth of the matter is the BMI is an arbitrary number, and I could talk for quite some time about how the BMI was invented, but it was never meant to be a measurement of a person's health status or even their level of fatness. But it has been adopted as such through the medical community and things like that. But what we do know is there is not a cause, like being above the normal BMI range does not cause disease. It is correlated. So what we know is that people who live in larger bodies have a higher risk of, diabetes, heart disease, and all of the things. But it doesn't mean that being over the normal BMI causes these things. What is more causative are all of those lifestyle factors, such as inadequate nutrition. And there's lots of things that get in the way of having access to adequate nutrition, which is a whole other conversation we could have. But
mhm,
nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, smoking, drinking, stress, inadequate sleep, those are the things that lead to disease. And whether you live in a large body or a small body, if you are not engaging in health seeking behaviors, you have the same risk across the
mhm,
board.
mhm,
So, yeah, I disagree with the statement that, this kind of body acceptance work is promoting obesity. It's not true. And the other thing that we do know is that the diet industry wants us to think that we have to achieve this ideal body to achieve health, but it's not true because 95% of weight loss attempts fail. And I don't mean just diets. Any intentional weight loss through restriction or transactional exercise is guaranteed to fail at a 95% rate within 1 to 5 years. And the more times that we lose and regain weight, we call that weight cycling, the further we put our health at risk. So, what's
absolutely.
actually not good for our health, like when we are promoting weight loss and dieting, we are actually promoting disease.
It's amazing. And, just along that thought process, I was amazed when I did a little research on bodybuilders, for example,
Mm,
which for a long time were the epitome of like working out and, really being a disciplined person and being healthy. And they actually have some of the worst health because of that body
mhm.
weight
Cycling.
cycling they
Mhm.
do, right? And the
Yep.
fasting and then the not drinking water before they go
Oh
on
gosh.
stage. And
Yeah.
so I think that's really important for everyone out there to hear, but especially for women, that there is not an ideal body weight
No.
there. And you have to love the body you're in
Mhm.
to achieve a very healthy body weight, whatever that might be for
Mhm.
you, because by loving your body and being gentle with your body will start to work with you. And
Mhm.
that's where the intuitive eating comes in. So
Mhm.
let's talk more about what does intuitive eating mean. As women, we all know we're intuitive. Some of us tap into that power more than others, but
Mhm.
intuitive eating, that's fascinating. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, intuitive eating is really just returning to how you ate before you learned all the rules that tell you how you should eat, right? It's listening to your body's hunger, fullness, and satisfaction cues. It's removing any restriction or food rules and just trusting that your body knows what it wants, when it wants, and how much, and it can seek health independent of needing to be micromanaged.
Mhm. That's wonderful. Now,
Mhm.
what if my body is craving lots of sugar because I'm used to sugar and the dopamines it sets off in
Mhm.
my mind? When I plug in intuitive eating, how is that managed? Or is
Yeah,
it?
well, you know what? If you're needing sugar, that's your body's signal that you need it for some reason. So,
Mhm.
so part of intuitive eating is giving yourself unconditional permission to eat anything you want at any time. And There's always a bit of a pendulum effect when we start intuitive eating, if we've been a restrictive eater or a dieter for a long period of time, living with a bunch of food rules, right? If you have been restricting sugar and been taught that sugar is bad for a long time, and you suddenly give yourself permission to have it, you're gonna eat a lot of sugar. Like you
Mhm.
just are. For the first little bit, you're gonna be having a whole lot of it. But it's almost like there's this testing phase that your body and your brain go through,
Mhm.
where as you're consuming a lot, your brain's kind of going, okay, can I really trust her, or is she going to put the brakes on here and put me on another diet? When we crave things, it's our biological response to restriction. Like that's we need we need all of it. We need all
Mhm.
food groups, we need all elements, we need all nutrients. So if you're craving sugar, it's because you need it. And our body is really great at stockpiling for the next famine. We can't tell the difference in our brain between true famine and imposed restriction for the sake of weight loss. So yeah, so like I say, you're going through this testing phase where your body's like, I'm going to get all the sugar because she's allowing it for a little period of time here, but I know she's going to put me on a diet on Monday. So like I'll
Go
I'll
gung ho now.
right?
Get
But
it all
eventually
in.
but eventually, as you continue to allow and give yourself permission unrestricted, that pendulum swing starts to become shorter and shorter, and your body will return to its innate wisdom to seek health. Like you will crave, like people often will say, well, if I try that, all I will ever eat is pizza, donuts, and wine. Yeah, for the first little bit, yes, you will. But
Especially the
eventually,
pizza part.
but eventually you will return to all of those nutritious foods because your body knows what it wants. It wants vitamins, it wants minerals, it wants high quality foods
Mhm.
in it to fuel efficiently. So you will get there.
And is that where your coaching comes in? Is that how, when a woman or a person decides they're going to start intuitive eating and more joyful movement, and they need a little bit of help through
Yeah.
trusting their intuition, is that where your coaching comes into play? And
Yeah,
how?
absolutely. Because there is like you can learn intuitive eating all on your own. Like the book is out there for anybody to get, and there's a great workbook. It's written by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch. You can get it. But yeah, like you say, there's all kinds of mindset stuff that comes up as you begin this work. Like, can I really eat this much sugar? Like, or what if I gain weight? There are so many fears we have when we're beginning this journey that it might it's a lot of people need support through those thoughts to work through that mindset stuff.
Wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about when you decided, like you started back in this corporate job, you were like, I'm done with the fitness industry. How did you decide or make that decision? And what was going on internally for you when you decided, I'm going back to entrepreneurship? I'm going to create this business. I'm going to help women with their body image issues and help them love and accept and just move into joyful movement and love their body. What was that like?
Oh, it was a whole evolution. Like you say, I was in this, well, it was a social service job actually. I was in and I just wasn't loving it. And I realized like I'm meant to be self-employed. Like I really just like to run my own show and answer to myself and set my own deadlines and pursue my own passion projects. Like that's important to me. And like you say, like I said before, I just knew I couldn't come back to personal training in that old toxic fitness culture methodology.
Mm-hmm.
So it really required like healing my own self first, right? Like making peace with my own body and really coming back to intuitive eating and joyful movement for myself, and then um, honing those skills. So that's why I sought out mentorship so that I could really yeah, perfect my craft and learn some tools to really help people get change. And I have to say that since making this transition, I have never felt more satisfied and fulfilled in a career. Like even in my past with doing personal training, I loved what I did. Like I
Mm-hmm.
loved helping people and working with people in that way. But it always was a little frustrating because people would come for weight loss and they either wouldn't achieve their goal, or they would and would find that it didn't solve all their problems, or they weren't happier, or they'd regain the weight back, and then they were disappointed, they felt like a failure, I felt like a failure because I didn't give them what they wanted, and there was just always this push and pull. But working from the non-diet perspective and helping people really transform their thoughts and reach a place of body acceptance, what like regardless of whether their body changes shape at all, and to discover a consistent movement habit that they enjoy, that maybe they've never had ever in their life. um, that's so gratifying, and like
Mm.
they're just so happy, and then of course I'm happy, right? Because I've really helped them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're finally at a place where you see the transformation
Mhm,
and the emergence of a
mhm,
happy body, happy mind, happy spirit. So
mhm,
I think that that's wonderful.
mhm.
What scared you most when you decided to make that transition?
um I think the fear of weight gain for myself was a big thing that scared me, and also, criticism, as you say, like those people who might say I'm promoting obesity. I do worry about that, but, like, I have a great response for that, and I don't believe that to be true anymore, so I wouldn't say that's a real fear, but I confrontation's never fun, and it's never fun
Yes.
to get those messages, right?
And I ask this because many of us struggle with the fear factor, right? When we're about to make a huge shift in our life, whether it's shifting from one career to another, or whether it's going from a career into personal development or self-employment, whether it's shifting from the confines of what you've been taught is beautiful to just loving yourself as you are. There's always a fear somewhere
Mm,
that pops up. And you've just said that you're the happiest you've ever been and the most fulfilled. So that is on the other side of that fear you had. And that's
mhm,
why it's so important for our listeners to associate that if I can just see the fear, feel the fear, and move
mhm.
through the fear, that this is on the other side of it, right?
I've
And
just started reading the book, The Big Leap. Have you ever read that one?
the big leap, I have not. No, tell us more about it.
So it's by Gay Hendricks, and one of the quotes right in the introduction is "Fear is excitement without the breath." So they're
Mm,
very similar emotions, but if we can just like bring our breath into that fear, we can like transform it into excitement, right? And yeah, I still get nervous. Like anytime that I'm about to expand, like I mean, I started a podcast. I would have never thought I could do that, right? Like there are lots of things that I'm doing that I did scared, but
yes.
um, but I just keep coming back to, like, this work is so transformative, and women are truly being served and helped by this. Like, it's I feel it's my duty to get over myself and get over that fear, and just get out there and provide this information to people who need it.
Yes, because they've been told the opposite for so long and they need to hear the truth,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And so fear is excitement without the breath. I'm going to
mhm,
remember that. That's
yeah,
really great. And you also have a good quote that I picked up from your site saying, every human is worthy and can be healthy regardless of their
mm,
size. So
mhm,
it
mhm,
doesn't, and that goes back to your earlier comment, the size of your waist is not going to determine your health outcomes.
mm,
It's how much movement do you have? What are you consuming? Are you putting yourself at risk by having high toxic things you're putting in your body, like
yeah,
alcohol and smoking and all of those things?
yeah,
And so that's really important for people to understand. And are those some of the things you talk about on your podcast, the
mhm,
Joyful Movement Show? Tell us more about that, because that's really
yeah.
exciting too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that is one of them, and that value statement came from, like, the stigma that exists within the fitness industry, right? Like, there are so many women living in larger bodies, or even those that are in smaller bodies, that are deathly afraid of going into a gym or will not enter the doors because of the way that they're treated when they're inside. Um,
Mhm.
right from, like, language that, you need to work hard to burn calories, and like, if you don't do this, you will gain weight. And like the whole messaging that fat is bad is really off-putting for anybody in a larger body. So, and that's not fair. We are, if as personal trainers, if we care about the health of the people that we work with, why are we stigmatizing a whole population, right? Like we are
Mhm.
not encouraging them to engage in a behavior that would improve their health,
Mhm.
by moving their body, right? Like it's toxic. It's not nice. It's not
Right.
like,
Absolutely. And so when you move your body, you may have been trained to go on a treadmill
mm,
and then lift some weights and then do
mm.
a warm down. Like you said, a 2 hour a day, maybe every day, maybe 4 times a week in order to get fit. And hiring a personal trainer is going to say, you can do it, no pain, no gain. Let's get you back into it. All of that wonderful stuff, right? So, and then on the other side, we're hearing joyful movement.
Yeah,
And when I say that, I just want to like dance a little. I'm
I
like, joyful
know.
movement. What do you mean by joyful movement?
So here's the thing. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm going to tell you, you don't need to exercise because
Thank
ex-
goodness, because I haven't been doing it.
no, exercise is a made up thing. Like if you go back 50, 60 years in history, like gyms did not exist. There were no weight machines, there were no treadmills. Human beings don't need exercise. We need movement.
Mm,
And yeah, it's a really unfortunate lie that we've told people that, yeah, you have to do that treadmill time and you have to lift those weights and do your stretching after and have this whole 2-hour routine that takes place in a gym with a personal trainer or an instructor. It's not true. Our
mhm.
bodies don't need exercise, but they do need movement. And I do believe that every human being, regardless of size, shape, or ability level, needs movement and craves movement. But that can look like, as you say, it can look like dancing around your kitchen. It can look like walking or hiking or playing a sport or getting down on the floor and playing with your kids, or I don't know, rock climbing, rollerblading, walking the dog, like paddleboarding, hike, like, oh gosh, there's so many ways that you can move your body, and it doesn't have to look like anything in particular. But, when we like it, when there's joy, we're a whole lot more likely to do it and stick with it. And really, at the end of the day, it's consistency that wins the race.
And that just illustrates the point further because I said just before you started explaining what joyful movement is, I haven't exercised in so long, but I have gone swimming, walked my dog, danced. I love to dance. I've gone hiking. I've done those type of things. I haven't gone into my gym outside, gotten on my bike, or gone into my squat rack to do butt lunges and things like that. And, and when you say that, even just hearing you say it is so much more joyful. It makes me
Right?
feel so much better about
Yeah.
myself
Yeah. Well,
instead
and I
of
mean,
feeling guilty.
exactly. Like you're not going to stick with something if you feel guilty about it. And
Mhm,
really, I mean, when it comes down to it, we've been taught that exercise needs to happen because we have to control or shrink our bodies. But if you
mhm,
can let go of that whole goal and go, well, what do I actually want? Like, how do I want my body to function? I'm in my 40s and I think about, how do I want to age? I want to make
mhm,
sure that I'm strong and mobile and have a healthy heart as I
mhm,
age.
mhm.
Well, I don't need to go to my squat rack to achieve those goals. I
Right.
can I can take my dog for a walk. Like I live in a beach town and we have stairs that go up and down to the beach. Like I just include those stairs in my workouts
Yeah.
every week, right? Like there are lots of ways that we can achieve our real life goals without ever stepping foot in a gym.
And if you were to talk to some of the women out there that are listening today and they just want to participate in this movement of self acceptance, what are some of the little tweaks they can make in
Mm,
their day to day life? Let's say they don't want to sign up for a coaching program. They
sure.
just to get them started to shift those mindsets to self
Mhm.
acceptance and self love. What are some tips you might give them?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things I'd recommend. Like first, if the desire to lose weight is still there, that's fine because we have been indoctrinated to believe that we have to. And if you can't let that go right off the bat, then I would say at least just disconnect that desire from your movement and your eating habits. right? And maybe use an and statement such as, yes, I want to lose weight. And I'm choosing to move my body and eat in a way that respects the body I have today.
Mm,
And
that's
another
so
recommend
powerful. Let's say that one more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yes, I want to lose weight, and I'm choosing to eat and move in a way that's respectful to the body I have.
That's great. Yes,
Yeah.
because you're respecting where you are right now, full and whole and complete, and
Mhm.
identifying a goal or a place you'd like to get to. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the
Yeah.
next thing?
Well, the other thing I was going to say is if you can, remove some of the pressure on yourself. So Fitspiration stuff that
Yeah.
we see on social media is just riddled with before and after photos and like do what I do and you can have this body too and all of that stuff that really makes us feel crappy about ourselves. So I always recommend people do a social media cleanup. Go through your Instagram or your Facebook pages and just remove the accounts that cause you to feel inadequate about yourself.
Mhm.
And also expose yourself to more bodies, right? Like all different sizes of bodies, ability levels, races, like all of it. Just like flood your mind with diversity,
Mhm.
so that you can like see that all bodies are normal bodies, all bodies are good bodies. Like there's not one ideal thing we should all conform to.
I love that.
Mhm.
I personally feel that it has been a long journey for me, and I still have work to do on loving the body I'm in. But I find it fascinating because I believe I'm a soul in this body, that the body is not me, that it's just a vehicle, it's just a
Oh, this is it.
tool. And
Yes, this
how
is
can
it.
I leverage this tool or this vehicle if I don't treat it well, right?
Mhm.
If I don't love it or care for it, and if it's
Mhm.
always viewed as an enemy, and I always have bad things to say about my arm fat or my lack of gap between my thighs or my big booty, then I'm not going to appreciate this vehicle that's carrying my soul around this world.
Exactly. And that's a big thing that I coach my clients on too is like, how about we not set body love as the goal? How about just body neutrality? Right? As you
Mm,
say, our body is the vehicle through which we travel through life. I use that exact same analogy with my clients that everything you've ever done in your life or ever will do, you get to do because you're in your body.
mhm,
So how about just appreciating it for the things that it can do and give it gratitude for what it allows you to experience, but you don't have to love your body. Like
mhm,
I have a tummy that I don't love and I don't think I ever will love, but I do appreciate it because
mhm.
it digests food, it grew 4 children and like, it does a lot of amazing things for me, but do I like the look of it? Not really, but I don't care. Like it's just part
But
of me.
that truth is amazing, right? So we're not saying love every piece of yourself. Be real, be
Mhm.
authentic, say
Mhm.
what you're disappointed in,
Mhm.
but appreciate the value it brings to you
Mhm.
and the journey it's walked with you, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
many of us from childhood, as you depicted earlier, you said you've been going through this for 40 years. From childhood, we've received these messages. From childhood, we've been taught to believe that we need to look and train and work out to be a weight or height, or we have to be the fastest person to make it onto that sports team, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
So we have to recondition decades of conditioning, regardless of
Mhm.
how old we are.
Mhm.
But if we're in our 40s like us, you've got 40 years of reconditioning to break down. So be gentle
Oh, yeah.
with yourself on this journey of self acceptance and self love. Be
Absolutely.
very, very gentle and don't expect it to just dissipate overnight. And
Mhm.
if you need help, well, that's where you come in. You will
Mhm.
help people with your coaching. And you
Mhm.
also have a new program out called Discover Joyful Movement. So if
Mhm.
people want to start to play around with this joyful movement concept, they
Yeah.
can join this class. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so Discover Joyful Movement is a personal training program where I work with you one-on-one, virtually or in person, depending on where the person might be in the world. Um, so while teaching you ways to move your body that move you in the direction of achieving your real life goals, like getting stronger and more mobile and flexible in the body that you have, I'm also working on the mindset pieces that go along with that to help you connect to your intuition and to find that motivation deep inside of you, and let go of all those rules and all of those beliefs that you've been holding for decades that are getting in the way of having a joyful movement practice.
Oh,
So like I say, that is currently being offered as a one-on-one program, but I'm in the process of building it into a course so
mm,
that people can have access to it and a bunch of recorded movement videos so that they don't have to work with me one-on-one if that's either cost prohibitive or time prohibitive.
wonderful. And you
Mhm.
also have, for those out there who are just looking at getting started, as we said earlier, you have a free resource called the Motivation Secret.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling it the Motivational Secret and not guidebook or something like
Yeah.
that. So tell us, what that is about and how people can get it.
Yeah, so it is a free guide that you can download off of my website. Yeah, the Motivation Secret will help you identify how motivation works. There are four things that contribute to feeling motivated, and one thing that is a motivation killer, and it's usually the thing that we focus on. So inside that guide, you'll learn the secret to cultivating motivation that lasts, so that you have that desire within you to move your body on a consistent basis. So you can find that on my website, RadiantVitality.ca/motivation secret.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Well, Kim, I want to thank you so much for your time today. But before we go, if you could go back and talk to that little 12-year-old self
Mm,
that you were back then, what's something that you would tell her that you
mm.
wish she had known?
I just got covered in goosebumps when you said that. I think I would tell her that you're enough. Who you are and is you're worthy, you're valued just as you are. You don't have to be different, you don't have to look different. And you have a purpose on this world or on this earth. Go after it.
Absolutely. So well said. And for all of you listening, there's a great reminder that you're all enough and you are all perfect and divine just the way you are today. There's nothing to be fixed, there's nothing broken. And so, big hugs from Kim and I out to all of you. And if you ever think you're not, just look us up and we'd be happy to help you get back on track because you're amazing. So,
Mhm.
thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I so appreciate all of you. And with divine gratitude, love, and light, I wish you all the best until we meet again. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Tara.
You're so welcome.